There are certain basic facts here. One is this industry participated in the creation of healthcare reform. They, like other providers, were involved, and like other providers, they said that they would participate in helping to pay for it. That's a fact. And now they want out. Another fact is that they have benefited from it. According to a recent analysis by Ernst & Young, the industry's revenue increased by $8 billion in the year the tax took effect. Also, there's been a reference to R&D. R&D, according to that report, spending by the industry also increased by 6% in the same year. There's also been reference to employment. The analysis of Ernst & Young also says that in that year, employment increased, and the overall employment has increased by 23,500. 23,500 in employment. So those are the facts. There's another aspect. If people vote for this industry to essentially go back on its commitment to participate, other providers are going to ask for the same treatment. And so in that respect, what the Republicans are aiming to do is to unravel ACA. Another fact is this is unpaid for. So when you add this unpaid for provision, you get altogether well over $600 billion that the Republicans, it's 610 to be specific, have passed permanent tax cuts without paying for one dime. Another factor is that this applies to imports as well as to those that are produced in this country, and not at all to exports. So if you look at the equities, if you look at how this industry has benefited, if you look at the irrationality and irresponsibility in coming forth to this body and saying, let's repeal and not pay for it all, from a party that talks about fiscal responsibility. So let me just read from the Statement of Administrative Policy. That's another fact. If this were ever to pass the House and the Senate, it would be vetoed. So here's the Statement of Administration Policy. The Affordable Care, and I quote, "The Affordable Care Act has improved the American health care system on which Americans can rely throughout life. After more than 5 years under this law, 16.4 million Americans have gained health coverage. Up to 129 million people who could have otherwise been denied or faced discrimination now have access to coverage. And health care prices have risen at the slowest rate in nearly 50 years. As we work to make the system even better, we are open to ideas that improve the accessibility, affordability, and quality of health care and help middle-class Americans." And it concludes, I quote, "In sum, H.R. 160 would increase the deficit to finance a permanent and costly tax break for industry without improving the health system or helping middle-class Americans. If the President were presented with H.R. 160, his senior advisors would recommend that he veto the bill." This is the end of quote. So I close with this. You know, people can be provincial in the sense that they respond to one pressure point or another. and I understand that. But what you have to do is to look at an entire system, an entire structure, and what it means for Americans throughout this country. This industry, as I said, participated in helping to pay for health care reform. They have benefited from it. And now, essentially, they're coming forth and saying, just take us out of it. Separate us out. That's unfair, unwise, irresponsible, and sets a pattern that will do what Republicans really want to do, and that is to pick apart and tear apart this reform that has been 75 years in coming. So I urge everybody to look at the broader interest of the people of this country and to vote no. I reserve the balance of